Okay, so it's been a while since I've sat in front of the camera and recorded anything. It's mainly this one's fault. I've also been doing a different job, which has meant different hours and stuff, but I'm back in front of the camera, and I think I'm gonna give the baby to mum. So, what I want to talk about today is the Commonwealth Games trials. Now, for those of you who operate in a slightly more normal way than me, I know it was months ago, I know I'm a little bit behind the curve, but I don't think that stops me from reflecting on it today and just talking about a few things, reflections that I had after the comp. But obviously, Rory had just been born and my life was mental, still is mental. So, overarching thoughts from the Commonwealth Games trials. I very, very much enjoyed the competition. There was a small part of me that thought that England could have done their selection at the British Champs in January, but we are where we are. Those decisions are well above my pay grade, so is what it is. I just wanted to make a few observations and just talk about some things that I saw at the comp and just put them out there. So the first thought that comes to mind is that the standard of elite weightlifting in this country has 100% gone through the roof in the last 8 years, say, but definitely the last 4 years, 100% it's gone up. If you look at Commonwealth Games selection back for Gold Coast compared to this one, totally different. Like, this selection was tough. There were a lot of people in the running. If you look at some of these categories, especially the men's 67s, the women's 87s was insane. Those two especially were insane classes, but there was pretty much competition in every single weight class. And if you look at it, not all of the people who were expected to qualify did qualify. So Owen Boxall in the 109s. I think a few people wrote Jack Oliver off in the 73s. And people expected John Chin to qualify. I think people probably didn't expect Jaswant Shergill to qualify at 67. I think the emergence of Jess Gordon-Brown has surprised a few people at 59. What other categories? I think the women's 87s was impossible to call. I think the women's 76s, up until quite recently, was pretty difficult to call. So it's nice to have a situation where the person who qualifies for the games is different to the person that you thought was going to qualify at the start of the qualification period because they've stepped up. It's really nice to see, and it's nice to see that competition really bring the best out of people, and there's no doubt it did that. A couple of groups which I want to highlight and just, excuse me, which I want to highlight and talk about. The men's 67s was absolutely insane. Any group that Jaswant Shergill in always ends up being insane. I think he snatched, I want to say 117, something like that. It was an incredible lift. I haven't got a video of it. I wish I did have a video of it, but I was with my oldest son and I was very busy on the day. But yeah, incredible lift. If you've seen the video, you know what I'm saying. Really good battle between him, Rooney, and Chris Freeby, but mainly him and Rooney. And if you went to the 2019 British and you saw what happened in that category, it was almost a carbon copy of that, where like a standoff on the clean and jerks. Jaswant comes out, makes his lift, having got minuted. I think he missed his lift, then went and sat by the loaders, and then came out and made his lift. It was incredible. Really good competition. Really, really enjoyed it. The crowd was the ones who won in that competition. It was just an incredible spectacle. And I hope we continue to have these battles in domestic competitions and bring more eyes to our sport, and people see that it is a fantastic sport to watch. I've mentioned it already as well. The men's 73s, incredible competition. Jack missed his opening lift, then came back out and did 135. John Chin nearly bombed on the snatch, and then it all came down to the clean and jerk. Jack passed out on one of his clean and jerks, and then John put the weight that he needed on the bar to make 3 times. Didn't make it, but he went straight to it. It was drama, it was entertaining, and I feel like both men left it out on the line. And I don't know if you remember a video I did a few months ago where I said, whoever qualifies in this category, the best person will have won. So it's irrelevant who wins. And they both did themselves proud. I've no doubt that, number one, this is Jack's last comp, and number two, that John will be back in the future. He's only improved in the last, 4 years. If you look at his trajectory, it's a monstrous trajectory. I think he'll be back, and I think he's going to the Europeans. So he's still on the picture in terms of senior internationals. Then, in terms of the women's groups, I've talked about it already, but the women's 76s was an incredible group. It was Katerina Felix-Stover against Debbie Alawode. That was an incredible session. It was like whoever misses their lifts doesn't go. And they actually both held their nerve and both made good lifts. It was just Debbie on the day was better. And it's just, I have to say from a personal perspective, it's really nice to see Debbie qualify. I think anyone who knows Debbie or has spoken to her would know how much of a nice person she is, how she's just a lovely person, just constantly gives out good vibes. And I'll be very much happy to see her at the Commonwealth Games. The women's 87s was probably the most mental competition I've seen domestically. There were 4 women who could have qualified, and it was basically winner takes all. Whoever does the biggest total, obviously, it had to be bigger than the totals done at the British, would qualify. And yeah, they all came out swinging. There was no one taking it easy. There was no one being conservative. Everyone was like, lay their cards on the table, let's go. And yeah, it was an incredible competition. I think if you hadn't seen the British, then you might be quite surprised by Emily Sweeney. But having watched the British and how good she was at the British, I don't think it was that much of a surprise. Oh, looks like we've got a visitor. Do you want to cuddle? Noah, can you leave the camera alone, please? Thanks, baby. That gives you an example of what my life's like. So yeah, the women's 87s, there was Nicola Stiddard was coming out. I think she came out for the winning lift at one point. Emma McCready was swinging for the hills. She opened on a massive PB clean and jerk. Truly, it was just a pleasure to watch that competition. It felt like whoever won wouldn't have really mattered. It was that good of a competition. And for anyone who was there, you witnessed a thoroughly enjoyable competition. It's not always like that. If that was like your first competition or you don't watch a lot of weightlifting, it's not always like that. But yeah, what a treat. I will give a shout out to one particular person, not necessarily the group, but one particular person who I was thoroughly impressive on the day. Might be an unusual take, but this is my opinion. Jack Dobson had an absolutely incredible day. I think he went 140, 183 maybe, something like that. Anyway, monstrous PB total. Like, I think his PB total were like 15 kilos. And when you've been in the sport as long as he has, that's a big deal. I think he's really unlucky that Cyril is just around at this time, and Cyril has literally just got his English citizenship. And yeah, Cyril's an incredible athlete, but he hasn't been eligible to compete for Britain because he was a refugee. He's got his nationality through now. He's British, and so he's eligible to compete for England at the Commonwealth Games. If that had come through 6 months later, then Jack would be at the Commonwealth Games. So I understand that's gutting for him, but I think he's got a big future at senior weightlifting if he wants to. He's shown an incredible improvement throughout the process. Right when it mattered, actually. Like, he hasn't improved steadily throughout the process. He's chucked a massive chunk on at the end, which is very impressive. I very much enjoyed watching him lift. And yeah, overall message is that the standard was incredibly good. The standard was incredibly high, and I think it bodes very well for the future of British weightlifting.